Yeah. Okay. So I guess yeah, so and we had kind of two things on the and I think we decided that this was going to be lightly attended, but that's we would just whatever. It would be another opportunity to check in and stuff like that. So and the two big things are the continuing on with the full text reviews and planning for the Stilly presentation in about a month. So I don't know, does anybody have any comments or questions or anything?
I do, but neither of them have to do with either of those topics. Well, one of my questions has to do with isodal because I think I mentioned I was on three proposals and they were all accepted, but they were all accepted for the same thing, which is that whatever Cracker Barrel round table, whatever they call it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
And is that like a table topics at a regular conference where it's all going on at the same time? Because that means I
That's a
can
good question.
only agree to one.
Well,
Does anybody know?
are you on like you've got groups on for each for all of those?
One was just me, and that was
Okay.
my workshop proposal that they said we accept it, but only in this format. And the other
Uh-huh.
is the Defining Immersive Learning group that I've been on since forever. And that's a big group. So, they probably would miss me if I joined this group. Um, so
Uh,
you know,
Reading the letter back from them, it doesn't say anything. It just says conference registration. At least one author must register by the deadline, the early bird deadline. If the co-authors will not be attending, please update the presenter list on abstracts accordingly. So if you're attending, I
oh, I
think we
am.
can list you, right?
Okay.
I do think you'll have to make the choice you just talked about if they're all occurring at
Like,
once. Like
which
which
table
table
do
do
I
you want
sit
to
down
sit
at?
at? Yeah. Um,
Yes.
but I
And
think
that
if
would,
you're
if I
there,
accepted all three, that would have to be mine because I'm the only author on that proposal.
yeah. I guess if we get kickback at some point, I guess if Nancy was here, she might have an answer, but
Mhm.
about what happens process wise. But yeah, it doesn't say anything.
Yeah, I haven't actually responded yet or even read it carefully to see
Yeah.
like, am I supposed to, when am I supposed to confirm that I'm actually doing it or whatever?
September 1.
Okay, time. We've got time.
Yeah.
I
So
definitely will be going.
Yeah.
The
okay.
only one I missed since I joined ISOTA was the one in New Zealand. That was because we weren't, my unit is no longer allowed to support international travel outside of North America. The fact it's in Canada, I can go, but next time it's in Europe, I won't be able to go unless I pay for it out of pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say you could just circulate, but then if you're the only person there, then that puts a damper on it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of like, yeah, if you want to be listed on other ones, I'm sure we can cover for you.
Okay. All right. Thank
So
you.
that's not a big deal. Okay. Did you have another question? Did you say you had multiple questions?
Oh, that was it.
Okay. All right. Um, let's see here. So let's see. So maybe like talking about the Stilly conference thingy. So if you go to that tab of our sort of central
Mhm.
document, I did try to put a couple little bit of text around the figure there to sort of explain it a little bit, and then there's also a couple other papers that we kind of referenced in our proposal. Well, actually, one other paper, but there's sort of like two different ones, which are the Winkler and Rybnikova ones, which sort of talk about different ways of thinking about the situation. And the one we mentioned was that there's whatever sort of personas that instructors, tend to assign to like students, resistance, um, So that's something like, would we want to list it or would we not want to list? Would we want to create a list of those or not? And then the other thing that Winkler and Rybnikova came up with was sort of framing the studies from, I don't know, I don't know if it's epistemological perspective or whatever, but trying to sort of have a two by two matrix with one of them missing, which is sort of like, is this functional? Is this emancipatory? With the purpose of the class or the way the instructor views the class potentially, and then sort of instrumental versus critical, like, which I think is basically like whatever, like, is the purpose of the class to receive knowledge, or is the purpose of the class to critique and interrogate sort of the content, right? And so those affect how people interpret, fundamentally how they interpret like student behaviors. Like if students are challenging in the classroom, like that might be the point of a critical thing. Um, or a critical lens. So I don't know if that might be a helpful thing or not. So, yeah. So I don't like, oh, and then the other one is like the questions that we want to ask people at the round table. Like if people had thought about anything else or anything different or any way to edit that.
Yeah, I mean, we went over those questions last time, and I think they're all pretty strong.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think if I was thinking about the two Winkler and Rybnikova stuff, I do think those are useful. In fact,
Hmm.
the second one in particular helps me deal with one of the articles that I reviewed, which I was like, it sort of fits well in their model. It's the one of you must have looked at it. It was about the accounting class where they wanted them to take a critical view of accounting as a practice. I'm like, oh, that's a nice dichotomy there to sort of structure that one. I don't know whether you want a visual image for them. Reading it seems like it'd be a lot if I was to sit down at your round table.
Yeah. And so that, I mean, they have like a two by two matrix figure in
Yeah.
their paper,
Hmm.
which is basically just has the words. So
Yeah.
it's not particularly helpful in that respect, other than, it shows you like here's this characteristic and here's that characteristic. And
I
that's whatever.
wonder, yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, you're going to put the Toolman one in there, right?
Yeah. Well, because I was thinking we could like try to put together like a half sheet
Yeah.
handout, sized handout,
In
and
which
then
case
but it
you
could
could
be
make it,
two sides, right?
yeah. But I think you could have both diagrams in there, both images in there, with or
Yeah.
without a elaboration. Like I think if I was walking away with your handout, I'd want that blurb underneath the Tolman image to explain it to me. Like,
Yeah.
and I'd want the same for
Right.
the two by two matrix, right? Like the little blurb. But if I'm sitting there and you explain it to me, I might not read the blurb, but I might listen to your setup and I'd have a visual, right?
Yeah, no, it is sort of like the PowerPointification of it, right?
Yeah.
Giving you
Yeah.
something to latch onto while you're to
Yeah.
ground what it is you're hearing. Okay. All right.
I
So I
I
copied in
like
that figure.
yeah. I like the identity positions one. I want to bullet that list, but you don't have space for that. Um,
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean we could, I mean you could like divide up, you could whatever. Make it a like a third of a column or something and have the figure in the other two thirds of the column or something like
yeah.
that if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
Is there a figure for the first art for the 2024
No,
article? No,
no, they just they
that wouldn't
just
be too hard to create, though.
yeah, you could, right? I mean, especially if it's just sort of, graphical portrayal of those things, right?
Hmm.
Did they do they have a matrix for that? I almost want to see if you can map them.
No. So it's just a list, right?
Yeah.
Um, there is a little, I mean, and the reason that I sort of said, well, maybe you could, I mean, so I mean, if you want to do sort of, if you want to think about it like in half sheet formats, right? I mean, so you could have like one half sheet could be the Tolman thing basically, and then you could like flip it over, and it could be like the Winkler and Rybnikova thing. So
Yeah.
like one third of it could be that list of the
Yeah.
identity positions or some graphic related,
Yeah.
in way to like put that together. The other half could be the whatever the frames.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you want your discussion prompt questions on there?
um, well, I guess I was still thinking, holding out some idea that maybe we could like have people fill things out with that.
Yeah. So
And
it'd be a different handout. I think you still
yeah,
could.
so it would be a different half sheet.
Yeah. I
I
think you still
I don't
could.
know if that's practical or not, but
I think you could. I think that's feasible. In other words, a half sheet with those questions. And maybe and that's why then, because initially I was thinking if you had this as all in one document, I'd want our research question up at the top. But if you were doing a handout with the half sheet, it could be either place. It could either be on the half sheet or on the other handout, on the diagram handout. Like our question is this: how's this
right.
changed? Here's a couple of touch points. Here's some questions for you all. I don't think it's unreasonable to say let's talk about these and make some notes. Like make some chicken scratches on there as you go. I'd like to take those up at the end, right?
Yeah.
Um, what might happen is you see some things on there that you didn't hear in the conversation, right? Um,
Yeah. Um,
I
yeah,
wonder.
and then the other thing I sort of added in there was definition of student resistance. So that first
Yeah,
paragraph on that
yeah,
little
I like that.
thing, which I thought was useful because we don't I don't know that we've done a lot of trying to do that. But I think the interesting part is like is talking about how it's where students rejecting learning opportunities. And again, it doesn't have to be positive or negative, right? They could reject it because it's not whatever,
Yeah,
not appropriate or whatever.
I think.
And then sort of the second part of that is that it signals the instructor that to say, okay, something's going on here and I could do something to help facilitate this, right? And if it's like positive thing, I could say, hey, I should change my curriculum, or if it's a negative thing, it could be like whatever behavioral techniques in the classroom, whatever stuff like people like to talk about, things like
Yeah,
that. So
I wonder if you could put our buckets on there, not the full
yeah,
document.
actually I thought about that and I forgot
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do
Like it could
that.
follow just as a statement. Like we've been interested in students' resistance to what they're expected to do and students' resistance to what they're expected to think about, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I think that could be sort of a whatever. That could be something that goes with the half sheet with the questions on it. To sort of, yeah, as you say, like I guess that's true. Like so um so like I guess
I put an image in the chat for the 6 identity positions.
yeah.
Let's see what you did. You're fast. I was trying to map
No,
it. How'd you
Oh,
do
ChatGPT
look
that
is
at
so
that.
fast?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see.
that's why I said wouldn't be very hard to create something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to map them on I guess we're running on 2 tracks, but I was trying to map this using the semiotic square. I was trying to see if there was one, I don't know if you know that, like here's a thing, here's a not that thing, here's a not that thing, here's a not that thing. So like there's at least 4, sometimes 6 different things. I was trying to figure out if they had a relationship with one another, but maybe I'll see it on here. Because See, like you did it, disobedient student rejects rules or expectations. Well, that's true for number two as well. They just don't,
Hmm.
this, that the rules that the teacher has imposed are bad, right? So like they're appropriate, right? So like
I
Yeah,
just literally copied and pasted that paragraph into
and put it and,
ChatGPT,
and
and
said,
this is
make
what it
this
came up with. Yeah,
done.
it is kind of fun, like
Yeah,
having those
it
little
just, this is
images,
how we're
right?
transparent that we
yeah.
used AI. It's perfectly
Yeah.
acceptable.
So yeah, I was thinking about including there's whatever Burroughs, Kearney, and somebody else. They have their 19 behaviors of, that is
Mhm.
whatever. Field guide to identifying resistant behaviors. Um, but like I looked at it and I'm just like, some of these things sort of are basically the same thing and stuff. And I don't know. It feels like it wasn't a refined. I mean, I'm sure it was, but like it feels like they were, they just sort of put some things together, but um it feels like it could be consolidated more. So I didn't feel like that would be a great thing to sort of put into evidence there.
I also think that sometimes you can get bogged down in all these different models. It would be helpful to
Yeah, and
just
it's a lot of
zero
text.
in on the ones that we feel are the most relevant to this project.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So yeah, so somewhere,
There it
I
is.
guess
Yeah.
the idea is like somewhere.
I just added a sentence after the
Oh,
Tolman Kremling definition.
Mm.
oh,
We already posted that in there. I was on another screen.
Yeah, he already put the image in. I actually think it's pretty good. It does the kind of comparison point I wanted, right? Which the right side, well, yeah, they're contrasting pairs, right?
Hmm.
Like three is this, I love the image it put there for victim of prior social. It's like a sad picture, right? Like they can't even consider it. They would if they could. That's what makes it so sad. And then the four is like they could consider it, but they refuse to do so. Like I'm not going to consider your alternatives. I could, but I'm not going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And they sort of talk about some of these being sort of extensions of other ones. But as you say, like some of it is like whatever, like it's totally beyond them to be able to conceive of these other perspectives versus just saying, "Hey, I like my things and I don't want to."
Don't
I don't
confuse me
I
with the
don't like it.
facts.
I don't like your idea.
Yeah. I think it's wrong. I reject it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly see plenty of that.
Okay.
I think you're good. I think you can have a little just you know what you can play that by ear. Do your handout with the questions, like your discussion questions. Then they've got the prompts right there in front of them, and ask if it seems feasible. Close with a minute of like jot down some quick answers or take some notes as we go, and then take those up at the end, right?
Yeah.
Then
Hmm.
they leave with your 2-page images, right? The back and forth images. They've got the content, uh, and then you
Right.
leave with whatever the yield of the conversation was. Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's a good model.
Make little tear off sheets.
yeah, the little perforation. Yeah. If you can do that, that's be great. Yeah.
There you go. Well, if they would ever go to the maker space and
How many
put little,
people are you anticipating will attend this
I
session?
have absolutely no
So
idea.
are you talking about 3 or 4 people or like 25 to 30 people? Makes a
Or
big difference.
300 people, I don't know.
I don't
It
know.
could be anything. I mean, I think Meg, and maybe Rutwa have experience with the conference, so they might have an idea. Like if we're just like, hey, should we bring 80 of these or 200 of these or whatever, or we can just have
Yeah.
Rutwa bring the stuff since she's local. So
I could never estimate that either. I mean, on roundtables I've done that I thought not a single person's going to want to sit down at this table. I've had people pulling up chairs and not even couldn't even accommodate everyone. And at others where I thought, oh, this will be very timely. Everybody will be interested, like 4 people will sit down. So you
yeah.
can't tell. You really can't.
So I'm going to take us back. I now want to know if we can have a functionalist emancipatory dementia. Like that's the problem with their quad.
Right.
Yeah,
So, right. And I think they were basically saying it was logically
impossible.
impossible,
Yeah.
right? Because if I guess if if the goal is basically content transfer, I mean, maybe you could try to engineer something, right? So, but if your goal is content transfer, but you want to have the student taking ownership of the learning experience and rejecting the hierarchy. It's sort of, I mean, the emancipatory thing is basically throwing off your chains and so if you if your goal is to get through the chapters, that's sort of in conflict with,
I guess it would be doing emancipatory teaching, but basically spoon feeding it to people. It would be we talk it, but we don't do it. Yeah,
well, that's sort of I guess I think that's sort of the other one, right?
critical
The
functionalists.
the critical functionalist. It's like
Yeah,
that. I mean, the things that they sort of said fell into that bucket were like, doing, whatever, kind of like white fragility facilitations, and then complaining that students didn't want to, wouldn't engage, right, with that process, right? So it wasn't, so that as long as they were moving towards their outcome, which was, to wrestle with these things, right, then it was okay. But it was still that the teacher was in charge
yeah.
of and had the big goal in mind, and it wasn't sort of the students, whatever, driving the process, right? That kind of a thing.
That's good. I'm done. I won't play with it anymore.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that was good. I think there's some good things
Yeah.
we added in there. Okay. So the other thing is the full text stuff. So I guess maybe the first question is kind of like, so how long is it taking you to sort of get through papers? Like like if we were trying to do a time budget, an aggregate time budget for this?
I'm usually able to get through 2 in a day if I get into work early enough.
Two?
I, I give about an hour at the beginning of the day. I can usually get through 2. Now, admittedly, right now I'm still just doing brief scanning of them because we're still not really in the full text review. We're more in the second round of the abstract, but I am pulling up the papers and I'm doing searches for the word resistance and resist and all that. And then I'm reading, I'm going through looking at the abstract, looking at the discussion to see, was this study really about resistance? One question I had in terms of conflicts is there was one that I think, Kent, you and I were both on, which was about students are bored and lack of, I think we talked about this, and I'm just trying to remember where we landed, that if it never says the word resistance, is lack of participation or lack of something equal to resistance? Because if it is, then that paper might qualify. But if not, it says nothing about resistance. It just talks about boredom and the causes of boredom. So I voted to exclude it because based on what I thought our understanding was that if it didn't really directly address resistance, it really is now, at least at this stage, time for that to go.
I think I agreed with you. I've been leaning no when the focus is on motivation, and boredom
Mhm.
seems to be just general motivation interest,
Right.
not even to go back to what we were just looking at, right? Like, um, they're not rejecting the learning. They're just not, they're just bored, right? They're just,
Right.
right? Like, that's not a rejection. Like,
It's not
that,
active resistance
mm-mm.
in any
It's not
way to
even
just
really,
be
it's
bored.
not even, I guess also I found our two buckets so helpful in drawing that distinction because I realized, like, well, they're not rejecting what they're expected to do as learners. Like, they're, by being bored, they're accepting the terms. I'm just not going to play along, right? Like, you
Yeah.
can do a boring lecture, teacher, if you want to and go off tangent. I'll just check out, right?
I'll just sit here on my phone, or
Yeah.
at FITM,
Uh,
we used to say they're on their laptops buying shoes because that's
yeah.
usually what they were doing.
Yeah. Right. And
Here
then
it's
not,
all about Anki cards.
yeah. So I was with you. I sort of thought this is just a general motivation problem. And it didn't,
Hmm.
and I was doing the same thing. I've been trying to see in the discussion, are they doing an in-depth discussion of resistance anywhere or exploring it in some way or adding something to it in terms of, you know, the students actively saying, I don't want to do this thing that you're asking me to
Right.
do. Um, I've only seen a couple, I feel like I saw one article, which we talked about last time, that seemed to be I want more active learning or I want more engagement. I'm not getting it, like a kind of rejection of that. So like that'd still fall under our first column, but in that case, they didn't seem interested in resistance. I remember that article you're talking about. Its discussion didn't seem interested in resistance at all. It seemed
At
much
all.
more
Yeah.
interested in when do students decide to look at their phones, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah, I think that intentionality and focus is one of the big things that, again, like that was something that was oftentimes ambiguous in the abstracts, but I mean the full paper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, Rosemary, like you kind of like review the abstracts. I tried. I mean, I kind of look at the methods just just sort of quickly to see what is it that they're actually doing, right?
What is it
Like,
studying? Yeah.
yeah, what is it that their intent, like the research questions? I mean, like if you um you know, do they seem to be at all aligned with that? And then yeah, kind of the discussions, is a big thing to see, like, do they actually do anything substantive with it at all?
Right. Are
Yeah,
they drawing any conclusions around resistance and the causes of, or
right.
what is that, or that was just mentioned in passing? And sometimes
Yeah,
not even
because they're
that. Sometimes the word resistance isn't anywhere in the article at all.
right, which is okay if they're
Right.
embodying like a behavior or something and
Of
and trying to
course.
understand the behavior part of it. But yeah. Um yeah, and I guess the other thing to sort of as a reminder, like the things that are put into conflict are not only whether when the votes are different, but also when the reasoning is different. And so it's certainly
Okay.
possible that it flagged it not because you had a different decision, but just whatever
You picked a
whatever
different
whatever
answer.
bin of the garbage, whatever
Right.
which of the bins you throw it into.
Okay.
Um, so so yeah, because I think they were I don't think that came through as an issue. Um, let's
There's only,
see.
I only see, how many resolved conflicts do you all see? Do you only see the ones that you have conflicts with, or do I see all of them?
You
I only
see
see
all
three.
of them, or I have in the past seen all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's everybody's
So I'm only seeing
because
three conflicts for us to resolve at the moment.
right.
Okay.
And those are real conflicts. Whereas like,
Well, some of
whatever.
them might have just been, I looked at someone's notes. It wasn't really a conflict yet, but I looked at the note and went, hmm.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
noticed
and
like the
sometimes
first
like,
one, there's 4 notes attached to it.
Yeah, well, that one that you just talked about, Rosemary, I think my initial comment was from our abstract review, where I said, is refusal equal to resistance? Then I
Right.
saw your comment, and I agreed with you in my comment to your new comment when I looked at the full text. Uh, so, yeah, initially, that's how it made it in the pool the first time around. I thought, do we take this as
Hmm.
resistance? But once I read the article, I'm like, no, it doesn't look like resistance at all. It just looks like I'm bored. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the notes have those little tags that say whether it's a title abstract or a full text
Yeah.
note. Um, yeah, and so, I'll do that where I'll put a quick note to explain my reasoning when so that I whatever, I get reminded if it comes up as a flag paper. And then also to respond, right? So like this one with four notes, right? So I made a note and then Kent said something and then I said something else.
Yes.
So um which I thought, so this one is actually I thought this one was kind of interesting because so basically it's what? It's these Japanese international students um were withdrawing from the thing because microaggressions or that kind of a thing, right? And so I guess it's interesting because like as Kent says, like it isn't necessarily aligned with the bin with our buckets, right? It's whether it's a resistance to a pedagogy or resistance to what I think they're told. Um, it is sort of like it is one of the Tolman things, right? Which is, the negative classroom experiences, and, whatever, and possibly, cultural this and that. There's, so I guess I wanted to bring it back forward to say, okay, like to reassure us that like this is something that we don't think is something that we're interested in, right? Um, or whether, we need to modify our buckets, to like if we think it is something, because it is, we do talk about sort of the political climate as being one of the drivers of increased, issues. And I don't know if this necessarily, it's whatever. It's
Well, this
like
is 2021, so I don't think it was quite as toxic then as it is now, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean it isn't the same kind of situation, but and it is like I forget, it's like, you know, four or five people, I think, from what I remember, I think it's like four or five people they sort of interviewed, and and then they just said whatever. People said this and people said that. Um, so it's not really. Oh, well, I guess okay. So the part that, which, going back to my first full text comment was that the issue, or like the resistant behavior was resisting interacting, but across cultures, right? So
Mhm.
that was the piece that, so if the pedagogy is to build bridges, I mean, I don't know, I don't remember whether the purpose of the thingy was to build the bridges. Um,
I pulled the article up again
Yeah, me
yeah.
too.
because I think we could also, I don't have an answer. I
There's just
think you're,
two
well,
candidates.
Rosemary, I want to hear from you actually,
It's
because
just
I've
two
already commented.
candidates from Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it was like a really small number.
It is, yeah.
In terms of like if we were doing like quality of study. Um,
It's a
Mm.
case.
I
I mean, it really is a qualitative case study. Like they're really just
Right, it
looking at
is,
these
yeah.
10
yeah.
people to understand their experience.
Participants were resistant to the power relations in which they were embedded. I think both Nancy and I voted yes on this because it directly addressed active resistance, but it was resistance to the way they were being treated by their peers, not necessarily resistance to any pedagogical issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's slightly, well, right. And that's what I was trying to remember offhand was like whether it was, whether part of the pedagogy was for students to interact with each other and therefore avoiding working in groups or avoiding talking to your classmates would be resisting the pedagogy.
I was gonna say though that I would probably reject this one on other grounds that it's not really classroom focused. Like it's not really talking about the classes. It's talking about what it was like for these two students in the program and the kinds of interactions they had. Now, obviously, those took place in the classroom, but the study doesn't seem to be about. I'm trying to rewrite the methods section to be like what we were interested in was students' experience in a particular course, and that was, we wanted to look at the facilitation strategies or the active learning strategies or whatever, right? And they did a
Right.
bad job of it, right? Like,
Well, they did do classroom observations
yeah,
and field notes 3 times a week for 2 years.
yeah,
So they were in the classroom for part of that, and then they, of course, did interviews.
yeah.
Uh, Collected papers, syllabi, other relevant documents.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Where's their question?
Yeah, it says both inside and outside the classroom observations. As you said, I mean, you just said that.
Yeah.
Rosemary.
Yeah.
Where's the research question? The study asked what kinds of interactions took place between international students from Japan and domestic students in U.S. teacher education program. How did the international students make sense of these interactions? It doesn't, I don't know, Rosemary, what are you thinking? Do you think it belongs in?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Frankly, it almost reads like an opinion piece and that she was familiar with these two students before she started this study, so there was some bias in there to begin with. I mean, infatuation.
I guess I'm inclined to think the reason why we don't think it falls into our buckets is because we don't see any pedagogy pieces here. We
Right.
see interactions, and that is the
Yes.
research question, but it isn't,
It's not explicitly stated as far as I've seen so far
yeah,
that part of the purpose of the class was to, but does seem to be implied that part of the purpose of the class was to have, cultural uh, humility or cultural competence because these were students who were studying to teach in Japan.
yeah.
Uh, and it's implied, but it doesn't seem to actually be stated.
Yeah, it does give advice about classroom level,
Yeah.
like on page 159 at the bottom.
Yeah.
Several reasons seem to explain the participants' manifestation of resistance. First, both women were determined to return to Japan. They must have regarded their stay in US as temporary, thus might have felt less pressure to accept the new power relations imposed on them in the US. It's kind of a leap. Further, although obtaining the bachelor's degree, the symbolic capital from an American university was important, the extent of its importance could have been much lower in their eyes than that of an international graduate students who pursue advanced degrees. I'm leaning on no now because it seems to be kind of, I know we're not really supposed to take into consideration the quality of the paper, but I don't really see I mean, no matter how strong the resistance, neither women directly contested the social cruelties and insensitivities their white peers ignorantly performed on them. Yeah, that's scholarly. No
It's
strong
very
opinion, no
opinionated.
strong opinion there, right? Yeah, it does
Yeah,
read a
no,
little
I,
bit
I
like an
definitely noted
essay.
that when I read through. I was
Yeah,
like, it's very
it's
taking it very
definitely,
personally, right? Like
yeah,
I guess the whatever the instructor is perhaps Japanese as well.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Um,
guessing. Well, let's see, the author is Yukari Takamoto Amos. I think that's probably a Japanese author.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I'm
I
Is
just
think
that
it's
so.
interesting piece around the experience
it
of these two
is?
students, which does seem like it was not good, right? I agree that I mean, I can be sympathetic to all those different pieces, but it doesn't appear to be about
Yeah, I agree.
pedagogy.
I
Like,
think
there's
I'm
no
landing on a
indication.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've taken a broader view of classroom, um,
yeah,
like classroom in general or concept of classroom as opposed to this has to be in a classroom. You know,
I agree.
you have to be
Yeah,
testing this classroom or whatever, right? So,
but
um,
I guess my thinking, the focus of those questions seem program level and interaction, and some of the interactions with white
Mhm.
students happen in the classroom, some happen outside the classroom, and that's what they're interested in. But they're
Right.
not investigating. And even if we take a broad view of like what was it doesn't seem to get at program design or program. There's no, there's every time I look at it, there's nobody else on the page except
Right.
there's no other actors on the page. There's no, except for the white students and the Japanese students, right? Um,
And the resistance was uh, not really clearly defined. They resisted the way they were being treated,
yeah,
whatever that means.
yeah, I mean,
There was
you could say that, right?
no active resistance, you know. I resist being stereotyped. What does that mean? You know,
Yeah, I mean,
that
they just say resisting the power structures as opposed to
right. But the power
the,
structure they're referring to are the other students and their whiteness, basically. So yeah, I guess I'm leaning no.
yeah. I mean, I guess
okay. I mean, that's
I have
fine.
been too. I mean, when I look at some of the qualitative quotes, like it does say there's conversation about what a professor said in class. Um, the focus of the study, though, doesn't seem to fall into the bins we're talking about.
No, I don't
That's
think
what
it
I keep
does.
coming back to.
Okay. All right. Somebody want to press exclude then?
All right.
Rosemary, our tiebreaker.
I'm happy to exclude. And then we'll say not classroom or course focused as our
Sounds good.
reasoning. The next one was you and me, Michael, that disagreed.
How about that? And I wrote a note.
And I voted no. So you must have voted yes on this one, if that's the conflict.
I assume so. I think it was because I thought cheating was a
Form of
resistance
resistance.
behavior, right? Like
And I
it's,
didn't write a notice to why I voted the way I voted. So I'm gonna have to take a look. I'm sure that happened in the first round. I love that assignment outsourcing. That sounds
yeah.
like such a nice way of
That's
saying
good.
cheating.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not cheating. I'm just outsourcing my
Outsource this. I'm
assignments.
entrepreneurial.
Yeah, right. I had a student say that to me once. I didn't cheat. My boyfriend wrote this paper. Okay, maybe we need to understand what we mean by cheating. International service, 7,000.
Did this?
Logical explanation. Is this in, this is in Australia. This doesn't
Yeah,
qualify. I just noticed.
yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so
That's
that's
what I
easy.
was.
We're excluding it
Yeah,
because it's
that's
not in the US.
Ah,
That's, I
right.
think, why I probably voted no, to begin with.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
you're right. It is.
That's usually the first thing I look at. Is it a dissertation? Is it outside the US?
Yeah.
Because those are easy to fix. So there's just one more, and that's you and Kent.
Yeah.
The barriers to AI course assistant adoptions.
Okay. So this one I said to exclude. Um, yeah, which I sort of wrote down my rationale for it, the way that I read the paper.
Let me look again. I think I'm probably with you. Let me, I think I was seeing it, looking at my own notes. I was inclined, like I probably played that same balance that you're talking about because it's just a tech piece. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying here is it was just an option. It wasn't a requirement. So if a student chooses not to do something that's not required, I personally would not define that as resistance. If I give my students optional readings and they don't have time to read them, I don't consider that resistant behavior. I'm just sort of saying it's there if you want it. When AI assistants are explicitly included in coursework, there is utilization. Yeah, so
Yeah, I think that was part of it was like making all this stuff. I mean, so the person who wrote it, I think, is like in the IT department. So seemed to have a vested interest in it. And was just like, how come nobody's using my cool tool? Um, and then was just like, by the way, if people
well, it was published in a journal called Discover Artificial Intelligence. So
yeah,
that that would kind of tell you what side of the bread they're buttered on.
that's right. It might have been
So
written by
yeah.
bots. Who
And
knows?
it was also written by someone in the Digital Learning Solutions Department at Los Angeles Pacific University.
Yes, that was what I was.
Yeah, these are techies. And it seems like that's becoming more and more the reality. It's either I love it and it's the most wonderful thing in the world, or I hate it, it's the end of life as we know it. And I fall somewhere in between those two extremes in my use of AI, but it does seem like armed camps are forming around this issue. But yeah, it feels like if it wasn't if it wasn't a requirement, then how can we really call that resistance? That's my take on this. What do you think, Ken?
so you're taking a strong view of expected.
I guess.
Yeah. Expected can't be encouraged.
It was sort of expected by the tech department
Yeah,
that they use it. It wasn't necessarily expected by the instructors that they
that's right.
use.
When I think of student resistance, I think of things like them refusing to come to class or them, just ignoring the curriculum and using what in medical school we call the shadow curriculum,
Yeah.
which
I was sort
is
of,
very
Yeah.
problematic in medical education.
I think I
Yeah.
was trying to see if this is, I was looking at the what it looks like row from our sheet. I have this on my desk. Um,
Exactly, right?
yeah, and I was trying, is this is an example of this is more work than it should be, right? Like, I don't want to do this. I think I'm comfortable with it being rejected. I don't really
Yeah.
want to advocate too
I
hard for it.
think, yeah, like the study design, they talk about,
Yeah,
the technology acceptance model, innovation diffusion theory stuff, which
yeah,
is typical assessment of technology
yeah.
kind of approach.
Well, if
Yeah,
you offer an
and I'd
extra
say the
credit
re
assignment and students choose not to do it, I wouldn't consider that resistance.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you. I think it's parallel to the I'm bored in class. Like doing the research question exercise I've been doing, like it's clear that the research questions aren't interested in resistance. They're interested in barriers. Like what can I do to remove barriers for adoption, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
and they interpret resistance though as anything you not doing what I kind of hope you would do.
Read my mind. Why don't
Yeah.
you read my mind?
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
I guess the
Comfortable.
other, I mean, just
Why
from the
didn't they love
contents,
my thing?
from the content of the thing itself, I think they were just like nobody had negative things to say about it. They just didn't use it, right?
Yeah.
Like they just didn't think it was helpful.
Yeah.
So it was, or I forgot that it existed or something, right? So it didn't
Yeah.
seem like there was a lot of intentionality behind it,
Yeah.
which I know I'm trying not to like base decisions on the results so much, the actual results themselves, but it seems like it was, I think that's why I said it was kind of a weak, I felt it was kind of a weak study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good. Exclude.
All right.
Go
Okay,
for it.
so we're done. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about?
Nope, I'm good.
We can use the found time to do more full text readings.
I can
Ah,
use the found
ah.
time because I'm having to deal with a completely manufactured crisis, but I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so I have to get it resolved today. It's one
All
of those
right.
things where someone pushed a panic button that really didn't need to be pushed, but there we are.
Yeah.
Sounds fair. Okay. All
All
right.
right. Everybody have a good one. Enjoy your holiday weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Mm,
Yes, we're going on
Take care.
vacation and celebrating 45 years.
Ooh,
Yay.
congratulations. That's
The
amazing.
25th is our anniversary.
Nice.
Very good.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Take
Bye.
care.